Enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on this edition of Talk Today, as we invite you to maybe join us as we have a little focus on education. In the studio, we get a chance to chat about the good things happening at UCCI. 1 o'clock, Dr. Shari Smith will come in. We'll have a discussion with her about the overseas scholarship. So, hey, what better way to celebrate the new year by focusing on education? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. In the studio, Dr. Livingston Smith, the Vice President Provost over at UCCI. And we had a chance to have a good little chat with him. Hopefully the registrar will join us. And, for those who haven't been here recently, it's excellent security measures we have in place coming through. You go through the tunnel, under the bridge, over the wall. I mean, people are like, boy, it's going to be a tough year.
Encyclopedias here, so we get to go.
Yes. Our registrar gets seated and we have a chance to chat as Ms. Allison pulls up. But Dr. Smith, as we look at UCCI and we look at, all the things, I think parents in particular, it doesn't matter whether that parent is herself an educator or that parent himself, is a student. Mm-hmm. A parent is always a parent, and when it comes to education, that usually has been my experience, the primary focus within their home, and hopefully that'll transcend within the community and inform our public policy. And we can see it. So as our encyclopedia pulls up, Madam Registrar, Miss Allison, Happy New Year to you, Mom.
Happy New Year to you too. Sorry, it's been a busy day so far.
Extremely busy day.
Yeah, man. As we say in West Bay, Happy New Year.
Yeah, there we go.
We're bilingual down there,
There we go.
Oh, but I enjoy sitting and learning from people as we talk about education. I also sometimes seem impassioned, and sometimes some people misconstrue that. and as much, and I say this up front just in case I get carried away, as much as it's a move to the country to say, hey, let's push it forward. It's not about spending money, but if it's necessary, we do so. Yeah. Scholarship, tuition, bursaries, what have you, infrastructure, invest in your people. Yeah. Some people don't always get that, but man, I learned something new today. I didn't know earlier. I feel good. It could be that Rogaine doesn't work. I mean, I don't know.
Have you been trying it for a while?
No. Many things I am, but Vein is not. So as we laugh, we learn, and hopefully we love a little. So good afternoon again, Mom.
Afternoon.
We look at it's the spring. You can feel it, and the sort of universal settings. It's the spring term. Right? Yes. So give us a perspective and maybe talk about some of the programs. Dr. Smith, if you wish to lead it off, or you want to be wise there, ladies first.
Yeah, I think I'll defer to we call her the encyclopedia. She doesn't work with notes per se, but she knows about the school in detail, definitely.
Oh, yeah. No, that is very obvious. And I think it's the love that we see here. So, Ms. Allison.
Sure. So, spring 2019, new year, new resolutions, new goals for people to set. And I like to think that UCCI is there to help people achieve those goals and those resolutions. In terms of programs, a big thing for us this year coming is going to be our prior learning assessment. We did our soft launch last fall, and it's really targeted at adult learners because we recognize that that's an area of the population that is often kind of, forgotten about.
Yes.
And, we recognize that. We want to make sure that we're putting things in place to help them achieve their goals as well, not just the high school leavers. So PLA will look at their college level learning and award credits at a college level for that. So they could come in for an associate degree, a bachelor's degree. It just depends on their level, within their organization, the experience that they have gained, qualifications. They may have done some training in the office, and not just from an academic standpoint with PLA, but we've got a host of other things too. So, we're putting a stronger focus on TVET as well. A lot of technical vocational programs are in the works, and some are being revived right now. So a big thing we're getting a lot of interest in is construction. So we're trying to figure out how we navigate that, how we bring that back on board. And our continuing education classes. So for people who might not be interested in the academics or the tech folk, but want some leisure, you want some me time in the afternoon, you may want to step away from your kids for a little bit. If you want to take a fruit carving class, or a cake decorating class.
Cake tasting?
Hey, I think you get to taste the cakes after you've made them. So
I could try.
But it's a host of offerings in addition to our standard things like business and accounting, education, sciences. And right now we're in the process of the registration. So that's what I just kind of left and came here.
No, I thank you. And I know Dr. Smith would have said so earlier, but those of us who are somehow connected understand this time of year, you guys are busy. Students are, getting their classes sorted out, they're getting registered. Yeah. And for you, both of you, especially, Ms. Allison, to come over here and as important as this is, we know that that's even more important. So honestly, that's why I say thanks significantly.
And we're very keen to want to make the process,
as seamless as possible.
Seamless as possible. Yes, so if it's the first time, let's come along and we try to make it as quickly as possible.
And a big thing for us right now is being more student-centered. So we really, we appreciate feedback. Sometimes it's not necessarily the feedback you want to hear, but constructive criticism is always a good thing. And I think you can only improve from there. We're not perfect by any means, but we are trying, and we really do want to help students achieve their goals. And I think we'll see more of that in this year and in the upcoming academic year as well.
You talked about it for the PLA in particular, and we are speaking to Dr. Livingston Smith and Miss Allison Anglin, the registrar over at UCCI. PLA, Prior Learning Assessment.
Yes.
Not the Palestinian Liberation. PLA. I got to try my jokes because who knows, tomorrow they might tell me I need another job. And
stand-up comic.
Yeah, I might be able. My father told me I should be on stage. There was one leaving, apparently I didn't realize that's what he meant. But almost two jokes, almost. The prior lesson, learning assessment, you talked about adult learners.
Right.
Now, are we talking adult from the perspective of the legal age of majority, adult from the age of 40 plus? Hopefully, by the time I get 85, I might be an adult. But what age are we considered adult?
So the traditional age of mature students is considered 24, 25. And ideally, the PLA is for people who have somewhere between 5 to 10 years experience, depending on the route that they're going to take. So for us, for PLA, it has 4 routes, 4 pathways. The first one is a transfer of credits route. So if you went away to school before, or even if you were at the Civil Service College, and you've earned some credits, you can go that route and say, hey, can you evaluate these credits? What are they worth now? How far can they get me in a current degree at UCCI? So that's one route. You could even combine routes. So if you've done that and maybe you've earned some Chamber of Commerce certifications, or you did some, in-office training and they've given you certifications for that, there's a route called workforce training evaluation, workplace training evaluation. And we'll take a look at those certificates and assess them, see what they're equivalent to. And then there is a portfolio development. So you may not have those certificates, but you have a wealth of knowledge that you can create a portfolio for various classes, and you can get awarded credits for that. And then there is a challenge exam route. So if you are a native Spanish speaker, for example, and you would like to challenge Spanish 101 and Spanish 102, you can do that and earn credits. Or you may be an IT professional, so you've got a lot of years of experience under your belt, a lot of hands-on learning, but you don't have the certifications to back it up. A challenge exam could be exactly what you need in something like basic networking, right? So it's a variety of pathways, because we recognize that not everybody is alike, so learners will be different, and we need to be able to cater to them. So,
all right. Now, Ms. Allison, from that perspective, this challenge exam, would you say that? Hopefully, I remember the word correct. CLEP in the American education, tertiary education system,
Right.
you take an exam to say, listen, I did economics, for argument's sake, or accounting. I think I know that. Let me sit a test, and they say, you know this knowledge in maybe a basic math or English class. You get the X credits for it.
Right. So
similar sort of thing.
Similar, yes. So you have to be able to demonstrate that at a college level, you can test for these. So doing like CXC English wouldn't necessarily warrant you to be able to challenge college composition 1, right? But if you have done, if you started an A level, for example, and you maybe didn't finish it, or if you are in communications and you're doing a lot of writing, and you can display work that you've done, that could warrant you challenging, a class. Computer applications in business, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. If you've done intense work with that, and you may not have like the actual Microsoft certification, something could warrant you to, challenge that class. So it's with a good solid foundation that will let you test for it, because you do have to pay to take the challenge exam. And what we don't want you to do is to pay and then, kind of set you, we want to set you up right from the get-go. So we assess that and determine.
But as I listen, the idea that, that student, 30, 35, 40, 50, who has been working and who may have gone on conferences and courses, but has the experience, and probably is the person in the organization, whether it's the office or the construction site, who knows this stuff, knows how to do it. You want it done, you go ask Ms. Allison. She can navigate you through.
Exactly.
But doesn't have that traditional piece of paper, but has the experience, the knowledge, right? This is who we were talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Just to add to what you're saying, so that person can save up to 30%.
Credit by save 30%.
Yeah, you can. So they're able to complete the degree faster, and they're able to save time and money, and have more time for themselves.
But equally too, the person gets recognized, because sometimes we don't. I don't. Hopefully, say this that people it's misconstrued, but sometimes we don't appreciate that person actually is probably smarter, more knowledgeable, more valuable, or certainly is as valuable.
Yes.
Because that person has the practical know-how, right? And so that person can be validated, I think, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, and as somebody who is in the classroom teaching, it makes a whole lot of difference when you have the young learner and inexperienced person, but you also have persons who are more mature or more experienced. The kinds of discussions that you get is really very good.
I remember long ago, so back in the day, I had here.
We're back on this Rogaine track.
and there was this fellow, and we were doing a case study. And academically, this is what the text. And I was just looking at it, and I was thinking something, and I said, well, what about this? It didn't make a lot of sense in a sense, but it was just a thought that I had. So the professor being one of the individuals like yourselves who, well, let's see where that goes and maybe lead to something, right? And somewhere down, whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes into the conversation, there was a lady in the back, much older lady, and she got encouraged, seemed like, to speak up, because unfortunately, being probably the older, all of us probably felt a little bit more reticent, right? And it turns out that the little thing I thought could work, she had done something similar, way back when, but it just because of experience, right? And it brought, now I created the instruction style, because obviously the professor knew that, you can sometimes put a square peg in a round hole, just got to shave the edges down.
There you go.
But that's what you're talking about, bringing that knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. It makes the classroom much more exciting, interesting, and it makes knowledge, become accessible. It even bridges the generation gap and makes the enterprise far more useful.
I don't know what it was like for that mature student, but for the younger ones, invaluable. That experience, they could tell you, about something that actually happened, as opposed to you reading about it in a textbook. You can see, the classic example, you take this and you multiply it.
Right.
No, it don't work that way. They can give you the real one.
So we're saying, Dwayne, to those persons listening, seriously, go right ahead to UCCI and begin the process of registration. Let us assess what you have.
Yes.
And get you started. And as the registrar has mentioned, our courses run from certificate courses right up to postgraduate courses.
Okay. When we come back from the break, can we ask two things? At some point, Dr. Smith, we want to ask you about, that new vision, that new thing, because with the new president, get a little insight. But with the greatest respect, Ms. Allison, maybe ask about that. I don't want to use the word mature student, but that's the term that we should become
adult
comfortable.
Learners,
That adult learner who's sitting there thinking, I wouldn't mind this. This has been a dream, a goal, but not.
Absolutely.
Give them remind them of the 4 pathways, but equally the timeline, the sort of commitment, and then at the end of the day, is this person going to say, well, I'm going to get me a bachelor's, a master's. What is it that I'm going to get to be able to show somebody and say, take that? Because there are some people who need to do that. Anybody listening has a question? Well, probably don't call today. No, you call. We'll answer for you. It's a Thursday. Thursdays are days of answer questions, especially if you're in House of Commons, but this is different. We'll answer your questions, and then we'll continue the discussion. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
At KFC, we believe you don't have to share a last name to be a family. Whether it's an office party, holiday fete, or family gathering, enjoy KFC's fresh hand-breaded finger-lickin' good chicken. The KFC Festive Feast includes 10 pieces of original recipe or spicy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, tasty coleslaw, and warm biscuits. KFC's holiday catering menu includes buckets of hot wings, sweet chili wings, or chicken tenders. KFC, it's finger-lickin' good.
Research shows that domestic violence increases during the holidays. Financial pressures, family pressures, work pressures, all of these play a part. So don't let the pressures of life take over. Choose to diffuse the spousal arguments before they begin. Most people experience their greatest anger when they feel dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. Many people instinctively avoid naming their fears. And it's all too easy to mistake sadness and fear for anger. So if you feel like you're heading for an argument, or you find yourself getting angry, stop for a moment and ask yourself, am I reacting to a feeling of loss? Telling someone else what you're sad about or afraid of means that you're willing to let down your guard and be honest. And they may react by doing the same. A quote from ahealthyplace.com says this: remember, from every wound there is a scar, and every scar tells a story. A story that says, I have survived. Turn your wounds into wisdom.
The Stop the Slap campaign has been proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
It's more than what we do. It's who we are. We were your official bank of the quincentennial celebrations in 2003. We were your Bank of the Year 4 times. We were voted as the inaugural top employer in 2010. We were the inaugural Business of the Year awardee in 2017. Who are we? We are Cayman National, your local bank, proudly serving you for over 40 years. It's because of you that our journey continues.
The only bad workout is the one that never happened.
Make 2019 the year you commit to fitness. Let King Sports Center put you on the right track with their Get Fit 2019 sale from December 15th to January 15th. 2-for-1 Powerhouse Gym memberships for $600 or a single membership for $325. And call them to find out how you can take an additional $100 off this sale price. 946-5464 or visit kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Remember, fit is not a destination. It is a way of life.
Talk today.
but I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and it certainly is not just a privilege and pleasure, but true honor to continue encouraging the public to seek open and active engagement of knowledge and have an opportunity to have UCCI right down the road, across the street. And for some of us, I mean, literally, it's just across the street. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can engage and let the university campus, my dream one day is that we'll see our people all actively engaged. Vice President Provost, Dr. Livingston Smith, together with the Registrar, Miss Alison Anglin, joins us. Just prior to the break, I was asking about, sort of process and timeline, and, many people, well, they want to know what they can get out of this thing. And for some, I have a buddy. I've been encouraging him only because, and I know how this may sound, but, a teacher had said to him once, "Oh, Bobo, you're not going to amount to nothing." It would be nice to see him with that piece of paper that he could carry one day and say, "See you?
Prove people wrong."
Hey, if Frederick Smith could do it with his FedEx at his Harvard professor, why couldn't George do the same?
There you go.
But there we go. So, what do we get? How long is it going to take? I can ask questions, you can answer.
Hopefully I can answer now. But so in terms of registration, we are accepting applications because PLA for us is not a admission criteria. You actually have to be a current student to take advantage of the PLA, right? So that means you have to go online, you have to do your online application. You can do that now for the spring semester. You could do it for the summer session if you want to, if you need to save up a little bit before you commit to something. But definitely get your application in as soon as possible so that we can start getting an evaluation going, right? So pay the $25 application fee so we can create a file for you. In terms of how long it takes for a person, it'll really vary. I would say it would be case by case. Somebody could transfer in 50% of their credits. Somebody could get 18 credits. It really just depends on the person, what their background looks like, what pathway they take, they are recommended onto, and what we're doing in the spring term and what we're doing in the summer term, is piloting it with the business department. So primarily, we anticipate that's where a lot of the students are going to be interested in terms of the programs. And certainly education, we know is going to have some interest, computer science, but business is going to be our largest. And so we want to make sure we're piloting that in the summer before we do a full-on rollout in fall 2019. But what people can do in the interim is they can take other classes. So you may know right off the bat after a quick chat with somebody that you need to take college algebra, or that you can go ahead and do introduction to stats or environmental science or something that you may not be able to do a portfolio for or challenge exam for. So we can get you going from January with some initial classes so that you're not kind of biding your time and holding on until September. If you want to get a jump on it now, we recommend that you come in and see us between tomorrow and Tuesday. We're actually down in our multipurpose hall from 8:30 until 6. So we're going to be open, after 5. And if you come in, 2 minutes to 6, we'll stay there with you if we need to until 7 o'clock. Right? But we're doing that registration right now. Classes start next week, Monday. So, if you can make a decision over the weekend, we can still help you out on Monday. Get you on maybe 1 or 2 classes, you don't need to do a full load if you can't, depending on work and whatnot. But, and it could take somebody a year to complete an associate degree. Could take somebody 2 to 3 years to complete a bachelor's degree instead of the 4 years. Just depends on, like I said, what route they take and how much credits they're able to earn through the PLA.
I think too, as I listen to you, there are probably some of us who, we've been at school so long. I don't know if I can, get back into that. A bit intimidating, possibly, but it's once you start it, you'll see.
Absolutely.
You get into it, and the Chinese proverb, that long journey starts with a single step.
Yeah.
So we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
For the student and the prospective students that are listening now and looking at this and they make that decision, once they get on the track and they get their assessment and they see that, hey, I got some stuff that I've done before that is really, really valuable in terms of the academic pursuit. End of the day, they'll end up with their degree. They'll be sort of like on a traditional trajectory from the perspective that at this class is Econ 400. They need to take the Econ 300 first. The prerequisites need to be satisfied. Yeah. So they'll still be like like a student, just using what they had prior hand that they didn't realize was so valuable.
Yeah, and so you'll be awarded a traditional UCCI degree at the end of the day, right? And that's why there's certain limits on how much you can earn through PLA, because we do need to be able to validate ourselves that in our classes you can still, perform, and so there's still that integrity to the degree. You haven't awarded an entire degree based entirely on learning. We've said, okay, we've awarded X amount of credits. You've done this amount of credits with us. We can solidly, comfortably say to you, this associate degree is yours. You can take this to your employer and be happy to know that your business admin degree is, is worth what it's worth.
And that's the thing too. I mean, as anyone would recognize that getting something now refreshes you. You'll be perhaps made aware of changes. People in computers would quickly understand that, but even other areas, there may have been a particular change to an accounting principle that wasn't in play, 15 years ago.
It's good to upskill.
So staying current is important. Dr. Smith, we've seen that the university's vision is to continue to encourage and be as inclusive in our community as possible. Now the adult learner is there. Would you be able to share with us some of the things that are hoped and expected? We hope to have the new president on once the schedule.
Boy, I tell you, last year was really quite a year. We had some great events, and we also had the transition from a really great president to another, I'm sure, great president. Her name is Dr. Stacey McAfee, and she comes to the job highly qualified and experienced. She comes with a very strong view as to the role of a university in society. In fact, I've been working with her, traveling with her to meet persons in society, and we're going to continue doing that. I've deduced that she has a very, very strong vision for the university to build on what has already been accomplished. For example, she speaks about how do we make the campus even more student-friendly. That's very, very important for a student-friendly campus. And she has strong ideas about how to reinforce the concept of a holistic education that encompasses not only the academic side, but also arts and clubs and internships, apprenticeships, work-based learning, and I even hear her talking about spiritual life. That the human being is a totality, and that the education we offer must meet those kinds of areas in a human person. She has all kinds of ideas about how to make the campus more student-friendly and oriented, but she also comes with the view that the university needs to be more resourced. We need far more resources to do what it needs to do. And part of our remit is to try to expand our resources, not just financial resources, but contacts and relationships and things like that. So she's going to be meeting even more of our stakeholders as we try to build our resources and our capacities there. She's going to be very interested in how to make for us to have more revenue streams apart from what we get from government. How do we work on scholarships and bursaries and
Perhaps even financial
things
autonomy.
like that. Huh?
Perhaps even financial autonomy. I mean,
one of
Could
those
be a goal.
things, yeah.
Could be a goal.
Never know.
Yeah, because she does have some really significant ideas about what to do, and significantly, she speaks about the need for the university to become the engine for economic development, innovation, social change in the island. So she comes with that kind of background and understanding about what the university should be doing. So she speaks about, for example, how do we align our teaching and our scholarly activities to what society wants? How do we ensure that what we're doing aligns with the emerging industries in Cayman and reinforces what we have already? How do we bring research to what we do in Cayman, right? So she really comes with that kind of thinking about the role of the school.
Yeah, man. Well, when we come back from this break, perhaps as we conclude the discussion talking about not just UCCI and the PLA, maybe remind some of the listeners, if you just joined us, you want to know what we were talking about, well, Dr. Livingston Smith, Miss Alison Anglin will not only recap, but perhaps, share with you some insights and tidbits that motivate you to be as actively engaged in education. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Research shows that domestic violence increases during the holidays. Financial pressures, family pressures, work pressures, all of these play a part. So don't let the pressures of life take over. Choose to diffuse the spousal arguments before they begin. Most people experience their greatest anger when they feel dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. Many people instinctively avoid naming their fears, and it's all too easy to mistake sadness and fear for anger. So if you feel like you're heading for an argument, or you find yourself getting angry, stop for a moment and ask yourself, am I reacting to a feeling of loss? Telling someone else what you're sad about or afraid of means that you're willing to let down your guard and be honest. And they may react by doing the same. A quote from ahealthyplace.com says this: "Remember, from every wound there is a scar, and every scar tells a story. A story that says, I have survived. Turn your wounds into wisdom."
The Stop the Slap campaign, proudly sponsored by Foster's IGA. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
Who's the leader in savings?
It's Foster's.
How about this for a New Year's resolution? Live to eat. Yep, live to eat. Don't just eat to live. Find the balance between going crazy for that indulgently creamy made-from-scratch cake and knowing just how many nuts will make for a good, naturally healthy snack in between meals. Slow down and take in all the joys of food in your life this year and live to eat with Foster's IGA. Follow along for tips and more this year as we live to eat in 2019.
At Foster's Food Fair IGA, we care.
This health flash is brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Over 65 million people around the world have moderate or severe COPD, a family of diseases that includes emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Cleveland Clinic, Florida offers a wide range of management and treatment options for COPD, including programs focused on education, medication, smoking cessation, and pulmonary rehabilitation. A team of experts is ready to review your symptoms and test results to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. For more information, visit clevelandclinicflorida.org.
Kirk Freeport would like to inform you that the Kirk Freeport Clearance Center in Town Center Plaza is closing for the month of January and will reopen again with a revamped line of stock in February. Our team are busy refreshing our stores for 2019. And when the Kirk Freeport Clearance Store is reopened in February, there will be a brand new assortment of products priced to clear from your favorite Kirk Freeport brands. Kirk Freeport Clearance Store, closed in January and reopening in February. Happy New Year from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And yes, that smile is not just because I'm thankful to be alive, but it's also because I get a chance to speak with people who have a strong desire to constantly raise the bar in education. To see all of us, excel. Dr. Livingston Smith, Miss Alison Anglin joins us, and I'm not always conscious that when we talk about education, that some people perhaps either mean and perhaps even equally some people I would say misinterpret that we're talking about, oh, you got that paper hanging on the wall. That's important for different reasons, but irrespective of your perspective, whether you think the child's letter grades are important or not, I think knowledge and a demonstrated ability of knowledge. And this is why you sharing with us with the prior learning assessment, I think is exciting, because there's so many people who they didn't have the opportunity for whatever reason to stay in a traditional learning environment and get a piece of paper, but man, they got a lot of knowledge. And thankfully, we got a chance for them now. Right, Miss Allison?
Yeah, absolutely. That knowledge outside of the classroom, to me is, and I think to UCCI, is equally as valuable as the knowledge that you gain in a classroom. You get to see those real world examples, and as Dr. Smith said earlier, the depth that adult learners bring to the conversation when they're engaging in that back and forth in the classroom will trigger some light bulbs and hopefully plant some seeds in those younger students' minds to encourage them to continue their education and look beyond that and have some more vision for what they intend to do in their life. So I think it's a nice sort of all around win-win situation where everybody benefits when the adult learner is in the classroom.
I mean, it's something that you probably both have experienced, but let's say you do a history class, for argument's sake. Social studies maybe is what it's called. In that class, there's someone who social science.
Yes, don't. That's his area,
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, my apologies, sir. And maybe you're talking about, let's say, some war, whether it's World War II or Vietnam, and you happen to have had someone who served. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's a business class and there was a particular strike that took place and someone who was part of that. It has to be, some sort of, movement in relation to, human rights. Maybe it was, I refer to the, as we were talking, I'm thinking back to this example where this particular company had an incident within the company. It did get some media play when it happened. But, there was always speculation, did this really happen? Was it this? And here was someone who was intimately involved, who could, at that point, decades later, talk about it. And, you look back and you see the children going, oh, that makes sense now. You get a first-hand account. This is what this adult learner brings.
Yes, it's like once I was teaching world history, talking about world wars, and somebody in the class, or a person, actually could speak that as a child I went through so and so, and it just brought the entire thing to life.
Yeah, man.
That's an entirely different dimension.
Yeah.
The textbook is great, but a real life example. So hopefully those individuals out there now, maybe it's just one class. Maybe they just want to test the waters.
Absolutely.
You know what? And maybe it'll take them, 10 months. Maybe it'll take them 10 years. I don't know. But check it out.
Yeah, and we're here to help you. We're here to, if you need us to hold your hand in the beginning,
would you please?
We'll help you take those baby steps, and we want you to feel comfortable about coming to us. College is not for just those people who are 18 to 22, 18 to 24. We have adult learners there now, right? Predominantly in our evening classes, but we do have adult learners. So if you come and you register in those classes, you will see, people in your age, in your demographic. So you're not, you don't feel like sort of out of sorts.
And just to add to that too, we're thinking about our bookshop. How do we ensure it's opened later to accommodate those persons? What about our cafeteria, things like that? So we're thinking about the entire thing to make the adult learner be comfortable. We're thinking about you and making the environment conducive.
So it's really an entire shift, because even the front office, we want to look at extended hours on certain days for that as well, and that's why for us it was a soft launch this past fall, because we need to put certain things in place to fully prepare to launch it come fall 2019.
And I'll ask this, mindful of how it may play out, but we need to always raise the bar. We always need to move it. what I say, change is the only constant. So my mom always says, don't rest on your laurels, right? That degree, that program, that instruction that we get, those of us who've taken one class, whether it's a Spanish, whether it's a statistics class, we see this invaluable for us personally, for our jobs. But people always want to know, well, is this thing, and where does in education accredited? Is this thing have any, purchasing power? What is this thing? So, end of the day, that degree, that piece of paper from UCCI, will transcend into what?
Right. So you are awarded a traditional UCCI degree. What we're also doing is we're partnering with other international organizations to really validate our PLA process. So there is the American Council on Education. There's the Council on Adult Experiential Learning. So we're partnering with them. We're talking with them. We had a good conversation with them in December. So we're looking to launch some of their products and help us assist with that, and seek some, accreditation potentially through those organizations as well, because it really depends with PLA. Some institutions recognize prior learning, some institutions don't. So people do need to be, I would say, fully aware of what they're, about to undertake with PLA. But an associate degree from UCCI can get you into a bachelor's degree from UCCI. And again, you are awarded an associate degree or a bachelor's degree from UCCI. Nothing on there will say, 30% of this was prior learning. So it's not, that we're distinguishing those people. It's like if you get an online degree from Pennsylvania State University versus doing an in-class degree, it's the same degree at the end of the day. So the worth is equivalent. And they tell you that up front. So, we want people to make informed decisions, and we want to help them fast track their learning, because some people can't dedicate, 5 years to an associate degree, but they might be able to dedicate 2. And that's at a part-time basis for an adult learner, right? Because with work and life and family, you've only got so much time, to
and Dwayne, Alice may tell you, but I will. She just finished her master's in higher education. And she's going on to her doctoral studies soon.
Thank you for saying
that. So even the persons who are doing this thing, are very qualified people too.
Well, I can tell you that there are many of us, and sometimes I fall in that category, who would like to, who have all encouragement, may have the financial resource, may have everything, all the support they need, but that little niggling, no, you can't do that. There's always something that you use as an excuse to hinder you. So if you're listening and that falls you, maybe you can put that in your mind and try it.
Absolutely.
And to add to that, our current president, Dr. McAfee, also comes from that environment. She comes very supportive of what we're doing, and she brings her own experience to it.
All right. Well, listen, if and when we can be of value as you talk about the PLA or anything else, and if it means that the public, and I say this respectfully, goes to the politician or comes to the president and say, listen, we got to raise the bar here. This is, good talk, but, show me how the case to the pudding is. Then we raise the bar, and it may take 10 years. But that Cambridge University that we celebrate today, well, some people do, wasn't the same that it started, 50,000 years ago. Right? It was. We have to start somewhere. And we have to make sure that we always improve, and we call it what needs to be called, and we support and show up what needs to be.
Exactly.
Ms. Allison?
It's true. Ancient Athens that gave us democracy was always like that. They evolved. Became better over time, right?
There you go. Dr. Smith, thank you so much, sir, and for joining us. Really appreciate it. Ms. Allison, likewise. And we'll continue. So, quickly, for those who want to come by UCCI to get information.
Yes. So, registration is ongoing right now. We're upstairs in our admin office today, but tomorrow, Friday, January the 4th, Monday, January the 7th, and Tuesday, January the 8th, we will be downstairs in our multipurpose hall from 8:30 until 6. So you can still come and make your application. You can still register for classes. We can get you squared away. If you're coming in just as a regular student, you can do that. If you want to come in and take advantage of PLA, you can absolutely do that as well. If you're interested in PLA and you would like some more information, you can email pla@ucci.edu.ky, and we'll be able to forward additional information to that person.
Well, thank you both very much. And again, blessings for the new year.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Let's pause and take a break. Let's get the news headlines at 1, and then when we come back, Dr. Shari Smith. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman.
Cayman's newsroom. Headlines. These are the biggest stories right now.
One person is in serious but stable condition after an overnight car crash in Georgetown. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service tells Radio Cayman 6 people were involved in the major collision between a black Ford SUV and silver Lexus. It happened around 2:20 a.m. near Arista Towers on North Sound Road. The crash is under investigation. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. Democrats have vowed to pass bills that would end a government shutdown when they take control of the House when Congress reconvenes today. But the bills will not include funding for U.S. President Donald Trump's Mexican border wall, the cause of the shutdown. The impasse will therefore continue as Republicans still control the Senate and say they will not pass the funding bills without Mr. Trump's approval. The partial shutdown has now lasted 13 days, affecting some 800,000 workers. And a man has been arrested in connection with a series of burglaries targeting the homes of celebrities in Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles. Hundreds of stolen items said to be worth millions of dollars were found when investigators searched properties linked to 32-year-old Benjamin Ackerman. Mr. Ackerman is alleged to have posed as a buyer to survey the homes before the burglaries, which began in 2017. Among the victims are musicians Usher and Adam Lambert. 13 victims have so far been identified. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. And by design, very deliberate, we have this discussion on education, and hopefully it's not seen only as us being objective and impartial. We talk to our friends at UCCI for those students who are going to look at some continuing education, maybe started their tertiary education here. We talked to Dr. Shari Smith in her capacity as the manager of the Scholarship Secretariat. For those who are, hey, you know what, I want to go overseas to continue my studies as well. Mm-hmm. And if it's not inappropriate, you can jump in. If it's, you think, I'll leave that alone, that's fine too. My personal view, just like our seafarers travel the globe and they got to see the world and they got an education, I think it's important for our practicing professionals to take a secondment, whatever they want to call it, to as many offices and workplaces global as they can.
Right.
I think our students need to have a work exchange program. They need to go overseas and do a year or two or however. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Only
that would be a great opportunity. I mean, for experience. I mean, obviously, once students return, you're limited in where you can go and get experience. I mean, we have that as a challenge in education itself, in terms of our teachers and our professionals. in continuing their professional development because we are limited here on the island in the Caribbean in regards to, opportunities for improving their career area. I mean, thankfully we have technology, so we can do a lot of online stuff, but sometimes it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing of being in the environment and being able to physically dialogue with persons and stuff.
I mean, I say this because I've toyed with it many times, only because I don't think that it would be fair to my family, to others, for me to physically leave. Right?
Yeah.
But I know my learning style. I know that if I have a choice between sitting in front of this, one-eye monster, as a friend calls it, or being in a classroom with and everybody,
right,
and having a discussion, I can read the material. I can hopefully understand some of it and ask a question and formulate a response. But getting that interaction in the class, the physical bodies, that's me. That's what I prefer. Not always possible, right?
Not always possible, but even online studies and stuff has changed in terms of, the program that I just completed was an actual real-time program. So you were checking into an actual class, right? So I got to dialogue, and if you were too quiet, the professor would call you out and say, you're not a wallflower. You got to participate and stuff like that. So even that has changed. So it's not just sitting and looking at the monitor, right?
Mr. Lin, I just heard something that I don't know was good. There's nothing in my headset, so I'm going to pretend that we're still on air. There we go. I was hoping to press a button and make me more handsome, but it didn't. All right, we're going to laugh, we're going to learn, and hopefully share some love as we talk about the overseas scholarships applications process. In the studio, Dr. Shari Smith. And I'm grateful that the governments, this one, the ones prior, hopefully in the future, I'm grateful that parents and even students themselves, the private sector, we all fund education in some format. I mean, it's a huge investment financially as well as in every other facet.
Yeah.
But I think it's priceless.
It is. It is. It's a great opportunity for any persons, whether they're doing their first degree or they want to go on and do their master's or another postdoctorate degree. To have this, and it's not just, like you said, it's actually, our community. Obviously I'm here to promote the government scholarship application process, but the private sector as well does a lot of support in helping young people and persons further education, right?
Well, you were so grateful, or so gracious, I should say. I'm so grateful that you were willing, just prior to, our Christmas sort of festivities. Come one day and then commit to coming on again today, because the process ends the end of this month.
I can't believe we're in a whole new year and it's January.
But that's how organized you are. You knew the schedule. Today is the 3rd. The first day was a holiday for some of us. We weren't at work. For others, well, it was just another day. So this is basically day 2, the working day. This month has 31 days.
Yes.
And every day counts.
Yeah, every day counts.
So
tell us about
tell us the process.
Well, we are, the application process is open. It's online. The deadline is the 31st of January. Not this January, not next year January, but this one that we're in now. And we're monitoring the applications that are going in, and we can provide support if persons get stuck. And we're a little concerned because we haven't seen as much. This is my first time in going through the process in terms of from a managerial perspective, but historically it doesn't seem that we have as many applications going through the process as we've had in the past. Currently right now we have 5 stages to the application process, right? Which is why we came on early in Christmas to say, do not wait till the last week. You need to start the process and get things sorted and uploaded and all that. But right now, we still have quite a significant number of applicants who are still in that first stage. And time's ticking, So in terms of the stages, your stage 1 is all your demographic information. So you're going to be putting in things about, yourself, your birth certificate, if you're right to be Caymanian, which that was a whole other conversation we had, right? That proof, that has to be uploaded. Proof of domicile in the Cayman Islands, because it is required that a student has been resident here in Cayman for a certain period of time in order to apply for a scholarship. So if you just came back from attending, school or living overseas, you may not necessarily be eligible. So you have to go through and check those kind of things. Academic references, which means then you have to have a conversation with your teachers or whoever you're going to ask who can speak to your academic performance and your aptitude and your commitment to studying. They have to do a reference. So, it takes time for persons to do that. A personal reference. So someone who's known you for a while. It can be your mom or your dad, or your husband or wife if you're going for a postdoc, or your best friend or your child, and you're promising them something. But a personal reference. So again, giving persons time to write that and then send that in. So those are that's stage one, and those are obviously things that need to be taken. Put in place and stuff. Your cover letter. I've had a couple of calls about cover letter, and your cover letter is should be is a page, kind of an overview of what you're applying for, who you are, and what you're going to study. Because all the other details of your course and who you are and how you're going to apply what you've learned in Cayman should go in your personal statement. So your cover letter is just kind of like your overview of what you're doing. A medical is in stage 1, but the medical is not, we don't expect everybody to have the medical completed and uploaded. So if you're not able to do the medical component of it, you're not going to, you'll still be able to move on to stage 2. So don't sit and go, oh, well, I have to go get my medical first, and so I'm not going to move on. So that is not something that will impede you from going on. Stage 2 is your personal statement. So that's where you talk about, what you've done, who you are, what, experiences you've had, what's led you to focus, to choose the degree that you're going to, what's the school that you want to go to, how is that going to play here in Cayman? So those kind of details and stuff. What are your strengths and your characteristics that are going to help you, go through this studying process and so forth. In stage 3, we have your academic details. So that's where you're doing your transcripts if you're coming out of high school, or your exam scores, your SAT results or ACT results if you have those. What else? If you're doing post-grad work, then obviously your transcripts from your current program that you're enrolled in or you were enrolled in. So that's more of the, so that's the academic stuff. Proof of completion of any kind of work experience or courses that may need to be relevant. So when you complete that, then you get to move into stage 4, which is the information about the institution and the program that you're going to be doing. And there, you're going to be giving information in terms of the institution. There is a requirement for a letter of acceptance, but we realize that students, especially coming out of high school, may not necessarily have been accepted into a university as yet. So what we would like or what we need to see is that you have initiated correspondence with the university, and you can upload that kind of document. So I think it allows you to pick 3 schools. So if you got 10, you got to narrow it down at least to 3 for the government scholarship.
Your top 3, okay.
Your top 3. And then you can put, how you've corresponded to those persons. So, whether it's been an email to the admissions office or, if you're looking at going to school in the UK, UCAS, you have to go on a UCAS and
is that like a common application for the US?
Yeah, for the UK.
The UCAS in the UK is like the common app for the US?
In the US, and I'm just basing this on my experience.
Yeah.
But
this is
which is limited.
Yeah.
But I think you actually are. There's no one site that you would go for the U.S. With the U.S., you're actually communicating with the individual universities. So you would apply to University of South Florida, for example. directly and talk with their admin board or their international office. With the UK, you go on UCAS, you create a profile, and then you can you put in the information that they require. You select the universities in the UK that you're looking at, and then they kind of send your information then to those universities.
Right. Well, I'm learning this process, and I'm speaking to come to understand that there's this common application. You probably more and more, but within the US, where you put in a lot of information about you, and you select schools. I don't know if there's a limit to the number of schools. You say I'm going to apply to A college, B college, and that information goes, and then you also liaise with the schools. But even in this common application, there are specific things.
See, I'm learning something too.
One school may say, well, we're going to need from you not only an additional essay or a question answered, but we may want another piece of documentation that the other school in your common application that you apply to
may not need.
They may want something else, And why I share that as parents, if your child is going to be graduating in 2 years' time, start looking at this now. if not 2 years ago, it isn't impossible. No. It isn't as daunting as it may seem. But, I mean, for me, it's easy because I just let them do it. But I want to know what's going on, so I ask questions, right? And I think it's important when your child drives this thing.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, this is the beginning of, the next stage in their life and the future, especially if this is your first degree. So they need to take the reins because, this is their entry into adulthood. And they need to learn how to, communicate and talk with people and ask questions and submit stuff. Because when they're, away in school, they're going to have to do that on their own anyway.
Well, hopefully this is no offense, student nor parent, but just my thinking. Don't be laissez-faire either. Let the child drive it. Yeah. But kind of be informed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're going to be, it's you too.
Yeah.
So stay informed. I mean, as independent as your child may be. That's just me. Maybe that's not everybody else. But stay informed, man. Know what's going on. Hey, is this coming along? Sometimes this may not be just they need a prod. It may be just that you just need to know.
Right. Well, I mean, it's in terms of the scholarship. I mean, the government scholarship is 20,000 Cayman for the year, right? So
that's
you
max?
split that's max. So you split that into
that should buy lunch.
10 exactly. So it's 10,000 for per semester if you're going to the US. So obviously, in terms of tuition costs and expense of university, that's not going to cover everything. So parents do need to be involved because they need, they're going to have to find, how do we find that other couple of $1,000? I'm being, be nice, a couple of $1,000. Yeah. So you have to know what's going on because, your student might be looking at a university that's going to cost, I saw one, I think this week that was like $47,000 maybe for the year for undergraduate degree. So they might this is where I want to go because this is where I want to, hang out and live and study. But is it realistic? And, is there another program that's more, affordable to the family?
And those are decisions, not just economic, because let's say that child has got accepted, has opted for, but got accepted to a school. Let's make it easy. 50,000.
Right.
But there's one that is 25,000.
Right.
But school with the 50,000 price tag has perhaps a better reputation, as it were. Is that 25,000 worth it?
Right.
And those are decisions where the parents, if they're involved in the process, can understand.
Right.
Yeah, you got a scholarship and it gives you X dollars. Now I need to find,
where's the other, the other X dollars, the other 25. But, there's also, as I mentioned earlier, private sector scholarships as well. A lot of our businesses provide scholarships as well. So there's lots of other options to help supplement what you may not be able to cover, but you have to be involved in the process and you have to go after it, Okay. One of the things that definitely I want to reinforce to applicants out there, especially who are trying to complete this process, is when you get to stage 5, which is the financial detail, which is where your parents, if you are under 18, well, coming out of your parents' home, basically. You have to provide your financial documentation, so your job letter and salary. We have means testing in place now, so we have to look at combined incomes and assets and stuff. That information is put in stage 5. So you get all that stuff. There is this button at the end of stage 5, and you laugh, but we have had this happen, that says submit. You actually have to click that button and submit your application form. So it's surprising how many people don't. They're just, and I can understand. You get to the end and you're like, yes, the last piece of paper I have to upload, right? But you have to hit submit so that it goes in, and then we can start reviewing it.
Doesn't sound
very, very key.
How many was a written email and it's still in that box? But I wrote it.
Yes.
Hit send.
You have to hit send. You got to hit that.
Go back and continue drafting. So,
Yeah.
As we're speaking to Dr. Shari Smith, she is the senior policy advisor and the manager of the scholarship secretariat. We'll take some calls if people want to ask a question.
Sure.
If we can answer you,
I'll try.
We won't. I know it is early in the new year. I know many of you are probably inundated with other things as well, so fair enough. But I can, if it's okay with you, make this commitment. You missed today's discussion, you fail to catch it on YouTube later on, you ask, I might ask for one of the answers. I'll forward it. You have a question, I will forward it along.
Yep.
I can commit that Ms. Shari and her team over the scholarship secretary are wonderful people. You guys are amazing. So, but if you want to call us now, 949-8037, or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. You can even WhatsApp 925-3261. As you go through sharing with us, and I'm really, really grateful that you're sharing this with us. A couple of questions. The deadline, as you shared, is the end of this month, the 31st.
31st.
Right? There's a 5-stage process you got to complete. But you can do some things like the medical and then come back to it and so on.
Right.
At the end of this month, the 31st, there are things outstanding.
Right.
What then?
If you've submitted everything that can be submitted, then what will happen is you submit your application, and then we will start to review it. So then we will actually go in and start printing stuff off and looking at the documents, if they're correct documents and so forth. So there's a review process to see what has been submitted in terms of meeting the set criteria that the Education Council has put in place. And then once we've reviewed and they meet that criteria, then those applications are presented to the Education Council for that final decision for approval.
Just thinking out loud, so I don't mean to put you in the spot. I could imagine that because some universities, wherever they are, that you're applying to, has a process, a deadline, so and they may get back to you February, March. I don't know. They may get back to you at some point beyond the 31st of December, of January. So that presumably, if that's outstanding, that should be okay.
Yeah.
The medical, maybe?
Medical can be, I think, is one of the things that you can move on with without completing. Obviously, we want you to complete it sooner than better. Right? And I think, obviously, your final grades. So a lot of students who are graduating this year would not have their final grades when they submit now.
June, July.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that is understood. So we would, your transcript from when you started for the last 4 years up until now. So final grades would be something. SAT scores, you should, if you're doing your SAT scores, then those you should have hopefully taken at least twice, possibly 3 times if you're still trying to make the score, which is 1100 for the SAT. So that, if you're retaking it in May, that might be something else that you might have outstanding. Students who are in the UK system school formats, they would not have their final exam results. So usually I think those don't come in until August. So there's a lot of sweating and pandering, right? But we would expect that those probably, those wouldn't be put in as well.
As we ask you about some of the things that are standing, just quickly, if you would, the SAT, you shared that if a student may have taken it, let's say twice, for argument's sake. One time they got this score and this score on the math English, and the next time they got this score and this score.
Right.
Do you take the high of math on the highest one of the two and then the highest and combine it, or is it listen sit in one
and make it perfect?
Yeah. How's that? I know some universities will look at both, but they will say, well, we know your highest on your math was X and highest on your English was Y in the two sittings, so therefore how is that evaluated?
We will look at that. We will look at person scores if they've taken it more than once to see if it comes up to the percentage that's set in terms of meeting that criteria. So, because the SAT it's a lot more challenging than it was when I took it.
But it's a standardized test.
But it's just an experience. It's not one that I personally enjoyed, and I don't.
It's a standardized test. That's what can we say?
Yeah.
Dr. Shari, from that perspective, and when you're looking at the notion of potentially the things outstanding, without asking you, unless you have it available, an exhaustive list. Thanks for sharing that there are some things like the acceptance letter, like the medical, like the final grades, that you can come after the 31st. Right. Are there things that, listen, by the end of this date, by this 31st of January, you need to have that in? Photo ID. What are there things that definitely need to be in there? If not, the application is,
so like your financial stuff should be in there. The information in regards to the institutions that you're looking at, that information needs to be in there. Your school history up until this point needs to be in there. Your demographic information and stuff.
Stage one
definitely needs to be in there. Your personal statement, your cover letter. So those kind of documents, those things that you actually have control over.
The right to be Caymanian,
the right to be Caymanian. I don't know if we have control over that, but yeah.
Sorry.
You're going to get me in so much trouble, right?
No, if I do, you come look for me. We can run together.
So that references, they need to be in. So because what can happen is, you complete what is needed, and it's reviewed. We can actually, and council looks at it and they say, basically the only thing that is outstanding is this person's final grades. But based on their historical performance, based on everything else, we can give, a conditional approval. So, basically you are conditionally approved pending, the outcome of your final exam results and stuff like that. Yeah. So you need to get it in, because what happens is, if you don't get it in, then you can't be approved. It can't be reviewed. It can't be approved. And then you don't have an answer. And we're even telling people who, we've had some people call and say, well, they're not sure if their child's going to go off in September. They're thinking about it, but they're not sure. This is the only time that you can apply for overseas scholarship for this coming, will be 2019, in the 2019 period, right? So you could apply now. You meet all the criteria. You get accepted, approved for a scholarship. You decide, what, I'm not ready to start in September. So I'm going to ask to have my scholarship deferred, and I'm going to start in January 2020. But if you wait until September and say, no, I'm going definitely in January, I'm going definitely, in whatever, there's no, it's closed off. Right. So we can't provide any support or assistance.
They could defer it to January 2020 if they want, or
the following, actually in September,
if they already have been approved and accepted and got all the stuff.
Right.
But don't wait until,
Yeah.
And there's a process too. Paperwork, depending where you're going, immigration controls. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen anyway.
Exactly. So it's important that you apply during the period that the opportunity is opened up.
Dr. Shari, when we come back from the break, thank you again for sharing some more time with us. Could we ask a couple of other questions, including that student who is now 18, maybe it's a student at UCCI who's transferring over,
right?
Maybe it's the student who graduated and whichever is now 18 but still living at home.
Right.
Any particular concerns or considerations for that student and the like? Could we ask some questions about that? Could we also talk about the means testing to some extent? I'm interested to hear. And that's mean, not like how they mean. It might be that too. Nah, just kidding. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. recognize that some of this stuff can be a bit dry, but we're talking about, education and overseas scholarships, and, many parents are probably biting their nails and the children are just as frantic. But it's a process that we go through.
Yep.
Rite of passage, I think, as some would say.
It surely is.
When we come back, more talk today.
Radio K-Man Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop,
dancehall, urban gospel, Latin hits,
reggae, and soca. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of
Savannah Pharmacy, just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
This health flash is brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Over 65 million people around the world have moderate or severe COPD, a family of diseases that includes emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Cleveland Clinic, Florida offers a wide range of management and treatment options for COPD, including programs focused on education, medication, smoking cessation, and pulmonary rehabilitation. A team of experts is ready to review your symptoms and test results to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. For more information, visit clevelandclinicflorida.org.
Is this thing working? Give me some sound over here.
Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m., Radio K-Man Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show for your radio, featuring Will Sinatra.
Now, sound is everything.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, and calypso, and an entertainment trivia section. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of the Cayman Islands Football Association. SIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And as we have the good company of Dr. Shari Smith, the Senior Policy Advisor and the Manager of the Scholarship Secretariat. Scholarship or scholarships?
Scholarships.
Ships? That's what I thought. But
More than one.
Yeah, that sounds kind of anyway. But, she's a lady over there with a great team who, despite what some may print in the media, we still have some phenomenal civil servants who work. I saw, only because I was coming into the studio to get my cake and ice cream and chocolate, I saw the building next door illuminated and I recognized, but you guys over there working? It's supposed to be holiday. Don't dispel the myth that civil servants work. I mean, come on now, people.
Yeah.
But you guys were working diligently.
Yes. This is a very, and even though we've got our application process that's open, we also have our students who are on scholarship currently.
Yep.
This is the time that they're sending in all of their documentation and we're processing that so that they can get their, next set of checks and stuff. So it's a very, very busy time. So if you do call our number, which is 244-2482, and you don't get someone who answers the phone right away, please be patient with us because we are trying to, process everything for our students who are currently off studying and so forth. And just to say, the students who are out there, because like I said, I was like, what do I need to go on and say? When you get a scholarship, there's an expectation that you are going to obviously study, right? But we do, I think, a pretty good job of indicating what it is that a student is required to do and required to produce in order to get their next school payment. And we understand that there are certain things that aren't available. For example, one of the things that you need to provide are your grades, because it's expected that you maintain a certain GPA over your studies in order to maintain your continue to get the funding, right? Students who are in the UK, their grades usually don't come in until maybe mid-January.
They take exams after Christmas. Yeah, that nonsense.
Yeah.
Well,
so
did not like that. Still don't.
Still don't. No. So we know that students wouldn't have necessarily their grades. But we tell students before they go off to school in September that they need to make contact with their professors, and what we need from the professors, and this is one of the things I think I'm going to be tweaking over the next couple of months.
You tweak it too.
I'm going to tweak it. Yeah, twink it.
I prefer that word.
Is basically just getting information in terms of, have you been coming to class? How have you been participating? So a general kind of evaluation of your overall performance. So if you brought that back, in addition to your receipts, to demonstrate that you actually use the money towards what you're supposed to use it for, then it's not, there shouldn't be an issue in the process. We even go to the point where in November, there is this nice, wonderful letter that's sent out by one of the awesome ladies in scholarships that spells everything out for the student, tells them where they need to send the information, what documents they need, and so forth. So they usually get that towards the end of November, so that, again, a reminder of this is what we need, the forms that they need to submit, and so forth. I still have students, and I say I because I claim everybody, right? That are not sending in their documentation. They're not filling out their form, or they're not providing, and it's frustrating because then they're calling saying, can I pick up my check? And I'm going, we're like, yeah, but you haven't provided what you're doing. So there's, two ways to this process. It's not just we automatically going to give you money whenever you need it. You have to do your part as well. And it's really important that the students take ownership of that, because, this is an opportunity for them to demonstrate their maturity, their responsibility, and how they handle this really will guide what happens next in their life, right? So students who are out there, please make sure that you send in your information, your documents, so that we can, do our part and process what we need to process, so we can, get you going where you need to go.
Dr. Shari Smith, we do have a caller online. We're talking about overseas scholarships application process. The deadline is the end of this month. Boy. Let's go to our phones, huh? Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, good afternoon, Stuart and Dwayne. Mario Ebanks here. How you doing?
Good afternoon, sir, man. And you must forgive me because every time I hear your voice, you know what my next comment want to be. So,
yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your guest as well.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mario.
Doing an excellent job, and all the best for the new year to both of you and your families and all your listeners.
Amen. Same to you.
Yes, thank you. I just have a quick question. There was a group of association formed in the mid-'80s called the Overseas Students Association, which later morphed into a new name of Cayman Islands Students Association. So it was OSA to start with, and then it became the ISA. I was a founding member and the second president of it, and it was a wonderful organization. And maybe your guest panelists might have been a member as well. But the purpose of the OSA, or the ISA, one of the objectives was to help Caymanian college students with, overcoming homesick and help them get settled in, but also providing a kind of a networking, support relationships, and also when they got back, that they would become, an association of support and also a a platform for Caymanian qualified people to have a say in terms of career development, succession planning, and all that kind of stuff. Excellent group. I was involved for many years, and then of course, with everything, with age and everything, you move on, and you succeeded by younger people. And I know people like Debbie Drummond, Morgan Conley, Walling Whitaker, Cindy Jefferson, now Bulgin, Evelyn McTaggart, a lot of Paul Host, a lot of great people were involved, and others since that too, like Christopher Goddard and others. I don't want to start calling names, but I just wondering what was happening to that organization, because I haven't heard anything about them in recent times, and I really have been meaning to try to understand, whether they still exist or not. But I thought that they would be excellent support for, the scholarship secretariat and for Caymanians, getting settled in. Because what we used to do, we used to have what we call a liaison in each of the popular areas that Caymanians went to university.
Mm-hmm.
So that person would kind of be the contact, for example, if you had South Florida, if you had universities in South Florida, like University of Miami, which I went to, and then FIU or Barry or whatever, you had one person in South Florida who was kind of like the liaison, we called him. And then we have some North Florida and others in other parts of the States and Canada and the UK. But I just wondering if you know what happened to that organization and whether it's something that yourself, the Secretariat, might want to inquire about and maybe see if we could, re-energize, because it would be excellent resource for you and for our people.
Well, definitely. I mean, I have to say it's actually one of the items that's on my list to do coming into this new role. I know that and if it is still active, I would really appreciate if one of the members or the president or whoever could actually reach out to us or to me at the Scholarship Secretariat, because I know that one of the things that Education Council has talked about and is looking at how do we connect students with that in terms of getting students who may be either finished or currently in the process of studying and helping them link with students who are going to the university that they may be going to and so forth. So to kind of bridge that, that acculturation kind of is stressed, So definitely, I mean, I don't personally know whether they're still active. Back in the day when I was starting school, it was, and I was a part of it at that time. But if it is, definitely please get in touch with me, because I know that further down the line, it's something that we want to look at doing.
Well, Mr. Mario, you've always championed that, and I think it was a great resource, I think, for many, especially back then when you had to send a letter. Telephone calls were about $5 a minute. On an off-peak hour. So perhaps on behalf of both you, I'll say to those listening, they can contact me as well if they want to facilitate somehow or pass it on. Anything else, Mr. Mario, you want to share?
No, that's all. Thank you very much. I'm doing a good job, and let's continue to get our people educated and get them into a position that they can help build this little young nation of ours.
There you go.
Right.
God bless, man. Thank you very much. And for students that are listening, that is an invaluable resource. Now, I make no apology. I don't like this social media foolishness. It's too much, potential for abuse from all facets. But people connect that way, and it's a good way. This could be a way to leverage that. Yeah. But having a body of your own, many of us go to universities and we form the international students part of whatever that is, and we get involved. And it's helpful to get involved with student government and the like. But having people that you can connect to and relate to and reach out to, and just have an encouraging word sometimes. Maybe, one person will get a little treat from home and share with you. Little things that make a difference that you don't always appreciate until you're there, right?
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, I would even encourage past students who have been on scholarship or even current students who have been on scholarship to reach out to us. I know the other day when we were looking at doing these actual radio spots and stuff, we reached out to a couple of students to see if they could join us. And, unfortunately, we weren't able to get in, but, it's different, I think, hearing from someone who's within your age group about, the experiences and having those conversations. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in a very formal kind of setting. So something like what Mr. Mario was talking about is, having a kind of a social gathering where persons can talk and you can identify and discuss, how to navigate the school campus. And like I said, and just having that point person to know who to relate to, right?
Perfect. Well, when we come back, we had a quick break, and as long as Dr. Shari Smith has time, I'll impose on her now because it's she's gracious with it. I know when she goes back, she got a lot more. There's a WhatsApp message that we want to share with you in relation to the funding. We also will ask a question about the 18+ child and the like, and other things. So we'll ask some more questions. If you're listening and you got a comment or a question, well, if you share with us, we'll be happy to answer. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
CUC advises participants in the Green Iguana Culling Program to exercise extreme caution around the CUC's poles and power lines, especially when extracting iguanas from trees or branches that are in close proximity to poles and power lines. Participants should keep all objects such as poles, sticks, or hooks away from any CUC equipment to avoid any electrical contact. For further information, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for listening and sharing. We know a couple have put through their views. We do honestly appreciate that. For some, the student and the parent, they may say, well, this is just a conversation for us. I don't say this lightly, but hopefully it's not received anything other than with the sincerity of love and respect. If your child isn't here yet, your child may be just starting primary school. Pay attention for a little bit. You may not be paying as close attention as the child who's graduated or who's about to graduate or who's applying for scholarship. But I would love to see all of our children, continue their studies and get this next piece, because it's so important. And that's
very
just
important.
It's just me. I honestly say, and I always believe it's a true analogy. It's a lot like our seafarers going off to the seas. Not as difficult as the time that they had.
Yeah.
Certainly much more enjoyable, because they had a hard life. It wasn't easy for them, but I think it was a wonderful way for them to learn and to get knowledge and experience and expertise. Dr. Shari Smith, as the manager for the Scholarship Secretariat, could we share with you this
Sure.
WhatsApp that came through? Those that are listening and want to message us, WhatsApp is 925-3261. That's what it is, right? Yep, that's what it is. Or you can call us toll free, 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. Or you can pay for the call, 949-8037. I can't tell you what it costs these days with all the taxes. Not on feet. That's good. Says it's good day. Assuming a student receives the maximum of $10,000 per annum.
Right.
And this is CI dollars, I presume, right?
Yes.
Or the $20,000, so $10,000 per semester, or the $20,000 per annum, right? Is the student only required to provide receipts for the scholarship amount, or is the student required to provide receipts for everything? Is evident that tuition fees in a range of $35,000 to $40,000 plus per annum, so then the scholarship amount would be allocated to tuition only?
Well, for the government scholarship, it is allocated towards your tuition, your housing, books. There is an allowance for food, airfare, transportation. So it does spell out what the money is expected to be used towards. And this today, what we see, because we do have other opportunities for scholarships and funding, is that quite a few of our students actually will get additional scholarships and so forth. So in that case, what we look for is those scholarships sometimes are very specific on what can be used for that money, or that money can be used for. So therefore, then the government scholarship, then we're a little bit more flexible, or we have the ability to be a bit more flexible, to say, well, okay, if they're covering tuition, but they're not covering books, then we might be able to, increase our books because we're not incurring tuition. But we ask for all the receipts so that one, we can see, that the money's going towards what needs to be. Even though, yes, realistically, your costs are going to be over the $10,000. What like I said, I've been in this post since November, I think. And we've been getting we've been getting information, stuff in from current students, and just from what I've seen recently, you would think that it would be really easy to present, but we have some really creative students out there. And I'm saying that in the nicest way possible. But, when you go to school and you pay your tuition, you keep that receipt. Okay. So that might be $9,000. So you're like, okay, guess what? I know I'm definitely going to have that $9,000 to show Cayman Islands Scholarship Office that I've paid that $9,000. And you pay your room and board, and that's another $1,000. And then your books. And so, you've probably reached over that $10,000 once you have paid those couple of bills. But we also, but right now it is required that you do produce those receipts. So
I can understand the question. Because for me, you give me $1, I give you receipts for $1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I hear what you're sharing. So as a student, keep track of your expenses.
Yeah. And I have been on government scholarship every time I've studied. And so I know what it's like to keep all of those receipts and have to photocopy them. And it is tedious, but you know it up front. So there's really no reason. What I think is happening, unfortunately, is some of our students are waiting till the last minute to start kind of pulling those things together, And so this is, again, goes to that preparation of this experience is really preparing you for life.
So time management, organization. So to that student now, maybe a bit of advice.
Yeah, so I would say to that student that, okay, when you get to university, if you've got one scholarship or if you've got two, and you know what that is, your first couple of weeks, you're going to pay your tuition is the first thing that you're going to be paying in your room and board and so forth. So you want to be able to, you get those and, you get a file folder. I mean, I remember I had a file folder and you just stuck everything in there. And so when November came, then, you sent those documents, you have those documents ready. So it's just about being prepared and planning.
Okay. But see, that's what I did. That's what I do now. I still like my paper.
Yeah.
Today, people are scanning things.
You can scan.
Take a photo. Yeah. So if the student, for argument's sake, got that, I call it the leash, this embedded piece of thing in their hand all the time. Apparently, this is how they walk to see where they're going.
Yeah.
Take a picture of the tuition receipt, the room and board, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it physical copy.
No, well, it depends on what it is, because there's some receipts we require. You can do a screenshot of the university. You go into your university, so the tuition stuff could be an actual screenshot of that page. Yeah. But food receipts and groceries or your books, you may take a photo and just kind of scan those. Okay. But make sure, because I already had young prep person come with one of these, make sure that if you're using your phone to take pictures of your receipts, that you upload them to your cloud account, because someone, unfortunately, I think something happened to their phone, and so I
like my people.
Yeah.
All right. Can I ask of you then, Dr. Shari, and thanks again for taking us through this, because it is, and if it's appropriate, whether you or any of them together with any of your team or even come on again in person or phone, let us help you with the process if it's of value.
Yep.
During this whole thing, there's a maximum of CI 20,000 per annum for the undergrad.
Right.
Let's just focus on the undergrad for now. The child is going to go to the US, Canada, or elsewhere where there's a different currency.
Right.
Exchange rate, how does that play?
Well, for the U.S., it's 0.84 is the exchange rate that we use.
The banks couldn't negotiate better than that? Shame on them. My God.
In terms of UK and Canadian, what we do is the rate when the student is awarded their funding, the rate at that date is what we use to calculate the difference kind of thing.
I know we've asked this before. So the student has successfully got admitted to a school and has been awarded a scholarship, and now is going to get the first 10,000. Let's just say they got a full scholarship.
Yeah.
I actually have a question about that too. But anyway, so the first 10 CI coming to the student. That you shared with us before can be paid in a number of different ways and the like.
Once you submit your invoices to us, or if it's your first semester, then obviously we know through your application what your tuition cost is going to be. There's basically two banks that the bank we work with, we can do either direct deposits. So if you have a Cayman National Bank account, actually right now they do direct deposits. So once we process your request, it goes into your account, or you can collect your check or have someone collect it from the CIDB is the bank that we process all of our payments through. And then Bank of Butterfield, right now we actually have to do a physical deposit to the bank, but they have also will make the money available. So those are the kind of the three options that we have right now that we're working with. We're contemplating how to work other things out. But yeah, there's once you provide what is needed, then no matter. That's kind of like why I know my the ladies are like on pins and toes, because I'm the person that has to send the email to say, okay, release the money.
This is the process.
So but yeah, so there's an issue. The only issues of getting your money is if you don't provide the stuff you're supposed to provide.
I'm just thinking back to way back when
when we were in school.
Yeah. Not that long ago, okay? But the school needs to receive funds by a certain time. So you accepted and everything is there. But I believe in order for your classes to be preserved, so you need to get your money from government. You need to get it over to the school. There's all these things that need to happen. So as a student and as a parent, you need to be on the ball.
Which is and which is why it's important for our students to follow the requested criteria that we ask for. So if you have again, if you're in the UK and you're not going to have your grades, then you need to make sure you speak with your professors at the beginning of the year so that they can have those assessments, so you can do your processing and get your check. US usually has grades before Christmas, so that's usually not an issue. So once you're heading in your stuff, then it's not really an issue. When you're awarded your scholarship, you are given an award letter that states that you have been awarded a scholarship by the Cayman Islands government for X amount of period of time, for X amount, and what the expectations and stuff are. Usually, if you take that letter to your university, and we're not the first time that they've dealt with students who are on scholarship and so forth, right? So that will usually, they know that you have funding that has been committed for a period of time. But obviously, if you have outstanding bills on your university account, then you're not going to be able to register because you have to clear those, right? So again, this is where the conversations with their parents or whoever their guardian is comes in play, because the $10,000 isn't going to cover everything. So how do you navigate that? So how, if you're not able to get your funding, what's the backup plan, kind of thing. So
it's a lot, but many have gone before
and survived,
and many will go after. One other on WhatsApp, let's read it verbatim. So how about scholarships for Caymanian educators who want to go on to further their education?
The scholarships are open to any Caymanian who wants to go on and study. Now, so if you are a teacher, then there's no reason why you can't apply. Now, obviously, what comes into play is the fact that you are probably employed. And right now, I do not think that we have, I guess, what is equivalent to a sabbatical in place in the government. And so you would have to be able to not work. So you would have to step down from, resign from your post to be able to study. And so, again, putting in place that plan of how do I navigate that and how do I do that. So, there's no reason why you as a Caymanian educator can't do it. I am a Cayman educator and I have done it. Now, I had to sacrifice a lot to do that, but, it's really up to what you want to do. The other thing is that if you have your first degree and you want to continue to go on to study, and it's not feasible for you to actually move away, that online options are are an option. So you may be able to pursue. We have a lot of people who are doing their master's and doctorate programs online and taking advantage of this. So if you're looking at doing post-grad work that's online, this is the time period that you need to apply for as well.
So even it's online?
Yes. Yeah. Once the university is outside of Cayman, then it's considered overseas.
Even though you may be sitting at your computer.
Even though you may be sitting at your computer here at,
That's interesting.
Radio Cayman.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Sherry, I am very conscious and cognizant of your incredible demands, especially now on your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you need more time to continue the process, another 5 minutes to 15 minutes, it's yours.
Sure.
That's fine.
Yep.
See how gracious she is. I mean, when it comes to a champion for education, I don't think there's none greater. Let's pause, get our headline news at 2. When we come back, a couple more questions, a couple more answers.
No problem.
Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
This month is all about Cayman's kids. January is Support Our Youth Month. 2 days have been set aside, January 18th and 19th, with panel discussions, working groups, as well as performances in music, dance, and drama by local children. On the Saturday, young people from uniformed groups, sports clubs, and schools are participating in the Celebrate Our Youth Day. Both events are at the University College of the Cayman Islands. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, a special Afghan tribunal has convicted 3 men of being involved in the murder of BBC journalist Ahmad Shah. A spokesman for the Attorney General's office has told the BBC Mr. Shah, who worked for the BBC's Pashto language service, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen last April. The Special Anti-Terrorism Tribunal sentenced 1 man to death, the second one to 30 years in prison, and the third one to 6 years in prison. And extensive debris has washed up on islands off the Dutch north coast after some 270 containers, including chemicals, fell off a cargo ship in a storm. As the extent of pollution became clear on 5 islands, including Terschelling, Coast Guards searched the North Sea for missing containers. The cargo fell off the MSC Zoe near the German island of Borkum, but the tide carried many of them to the southwest. Initial images showed children's toys and TVs on Dutch beaches. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. And thanks for sharing with us. And yes, we are, not hopefully making it an exhausting conversation. I don't think we even attempt to say it's an exhaustive one as well, and as we go through some of the things. But as we talk about the overseas scholarship application process and the 5 stages, Dr. Shari Smith as the manager over the scholarship secretariat. Get started. The deadline, I think we can't emphasize enough, end of this month.
Yeah, end of this month, January 31st, at 11:59 it will close.
Okay.
12:00. So please get if you're interested in doing it, please get started on the process so that you can make the deadline. I mean, it's a great opportunity. People shouldn't pass this up.
Thank you. I think they should take advantage of it. We asked earlier, the 18-year-old, still at home with the parents. And
right.
Well, and I want to use that one because if you're on your own now, well, you're on your own, right?
Some people do that. But, yeah.
But let's say you're 18, 19, 20, whatever. Maybe you're UCCI, maybe you're working, whatever the criteria is.
Right.
share with us. Is that any different for that person making this application now?
Well, one of the differences is in the previously, you had to get, when you got a government scholarship, you had to get, I think it was like 2 sureties, right? Yeah. So council has changed that if you are 18,
this is Education Council.
Education Council. Okay. That if you're 18, you're actually going to be a surety for yourself. So one, that kind of takes mommy and daddy off the hook, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right, yeah. So you would sign up. However, if you're 17, because you have to be 17 years old to apply for a scholarship, you would still need that surety, but then on your 18th birthday, then you would sign your bond. In terms of financial information, if you're 18, you're still going to university, really, your parents are probably still providing support for you, so therefore their financial information would be probably what you would use. If you're a more mature student, then it would be your personal, financial information that you would be providing.
Okay, and I'm not gonna, belabor it too much, but I know that because of the health insurance requirements come into play. I'm thinking of the student who is, say at UCCI for argument's sake, still, for all intents and purposes, a dependent, still a full-time student. So that even though you're 18, legal age majority, you're signing for yourself, but there's still some interplay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it would, if you're a full-time student, then you would be, obviously somebody's providing some support for you. So, your whoever that is, whoever your guardian? Yeah, that word.
Oh, your gardener as well.
He might be helping you. Their financial information is what you would you could provide.
So just to repeat it, the child is 18 plus, UCCI, just for argument's sake. You're living at home, you're under the parents' health insurance, because you're going to need that to come into play when you go off.
Right.
The parents, even though you as the adult, 18 plus, signs, your parents still providing the financial information. Right? Yeah. The bank references, the whichever.
Right.
We wanted to talk about
means testing. Yep.
And I'm going to ask a question first that just came through on a WhatsApp and see if this comes into the means testing. It says, good afternoon, could you please explain the income and asset criteria and whether one or both should be met, for government scholarships?
Okay.
So that's part of the means testing?
Yes.
See, people are listening. You're doing my job, man. Thank you. Okay, so means testing.
All right. So this is something new. So apologies if I don't go as smoothly as I could if I knew a little bit more. But on the website, there is the documentation for the means testing and guidance and so forth. What council has asked on that document, it states that you need a total income. So if it's mom and dad, both their incomes, or mom and dad, stepfather and stepmother, the 4 incomes. So whoever the responsible parties are, it's for those combined incomes, and the incomes I think is 250,000, and then combined assets. In that section, there is actually a spreadsheet that you would put in your information, because we don't get that. So you would put in that information, and then in the application process, then that, what the combined total. So it's a total income combination, and the total assets is what you're submitting in the application process.
Okay. In that process, though,
yes.
This means testing. This comes in. This has to be done by the end of.
That's in stage 5.
Yeah, so that's at the end somewhere. But you want that in now as part of the.
Yes.
So this is one of those things that should be there.
Yeah, because as the parent, whoever is providing support to the child, one of the ways that we kind of measure what you're producing is your job letter, which includes your overall annual salary, right? So we should be able to kind of see that. So we're not going to see all the details in terms of what you pay for this, what you pay for that. It's the total combined income, total combined assets that is being required. Now, this is a requirement for education by the Education Council. And so therefore that information is, like I said, once we close off, we review to see that everything has been submitted that has been requested. And then those documents, which will include the means testing and the financials and all that, that is then taken to Education Council, presented, and then they make the final decision on how, based on that criteria.
Let's repeat it back to you. And may ask another question if it's okay. Only part, as you shared, this is a new requirement as we're looking through it. The means testing, income, and then your assets. But some expenses, I call them fixed expenses, mortgage, loans.
So all that's in that spreadsheet.
So you end up, end of the day, this is what you make, this is what you're spending, this is what you have left, right? Are there things that are required to demonstrate, to say, for instance, a bank reference, to say, hey, you have a mortgage at this payment, CUC bills, electric, are there things to...
No, they're no longer, and I think in the past you had to provide bank references. We're no longer requiring bank references. All we're requiring is the job salary letter, of the individuals, and then the combined figures for the income and the assets.
Some of us, I would say, thankfully or fortunate enough, may have through inheritance or just good planning very early on, may have acquired property, where the income producing, let's just say it's vacant property, excellent value on the property because of the market they're in and highly inflationary tendencies, but that's a different case. But our salary is X expenses, but our asset base, what's the asset rich and cash poor? And so looking at that, you say, wow, this person has a net worth of X dollars,
Well, obviously, I mean, you look and see, again, in terms of, what your expenditures are and so forth, if you've got mortgages and stuff like that. So, the information really, I guess, what council is, what they're trying to do is ensure that everybody who has won a right to a scholarship and who really do not have the means for a scholarship have an equal opportunity to get a scholarship, right?
Yes, ma'am.
At this point, I'm kind of like, but I think because something is there doesn't always mean that you need to have it or you need to take it, right? So really why, what we're asking is that if you, I have no problem saying this, but, if you know that you have the means to support your children, to go off to university or wherever, what they're doing, if you have those means, I implore that you consider then utilizing that because, we have unlimited bucket, right? And so therefore that whatever the government approves for scholarships is what we have to make work for persons who are doing their first degrees, second degrees, third degrees, and so forth. Sometimes, unfortunately, if, in the past, those who wanted to go on and do post-grad work or master's degrees weren't able to do that because we didn't have enough funding. And so the first thing is to cover the ones who are going off for the first time.
Give them a chance.
So, if you have the ability, I really encourage people to look at that, because if not, then, you may actually, there may be a young person out there who doesn't have access to the resources or the support to be able to go off and study, and this is a great opportunity for them to do that. So I think that is that's kind of the thought process behind the means testing. It's not that we want to know everybody's business and whatever, but it's about making it an equal playing field. And this is a direction that council wants to go in, so that's the direction we're going.
There's merit in means testing and so on. We keep referencing council, education council. So that goes through the application process, is applying for a scholarship.
Right.
How is that? Who makes that decision? If you can share this, because some must think, it's flip a coin. Maybe it's the civil servants, maybe it's council, maybe it's the politician. Maybe it's this, nefarious.
Well, and in the education law, the minister, has various responsibilities, and she also, but currently Miss Honorable Juliana Connor is our minister.
Mm-hmm.
She has the authority to delegate her responsibilities to various councils and panels and so forth. And so she's delegated certain responsibilities to the Education Council. And what council does is they will look to see if the applicants have met that criteria. And that's why we have the criteria, and that's why they've established it, so that we're measuring. It's not like, oh, well, I don't know if that, I like that person or whatever. It's not based on that. It's based on the criteria that's being presented. And so they will, review the documents and stuff, and then, make decisions. I haven't really heard of council not approving, scholarships. Obviously, if you don't meet the criteria, then they're not going to approve it. But if you do meet the criteria, then, there's really, no issues.
It's up to a maximum. We're speaking specifically to undergraduate.
Right.
This maximum of 20,000 CIA per annum.
Mm-hmm.
That means a child could get 1,000, 10,000, or the maximum, depending on
what the needs are, and then depending on whether they have other funding. So, like I said earlier, that some students have other scholarships to pay for various other things, but there might be just a little bit that isn't being covered, and so therefore, then the government would then pay. Scholarship could cover that.
A couple of quick questions from the WhatsApp, and then one other one I want to ask of you. This one was asking to expound further on the specifics for this criteria that we mentioned. Don't know whether that's something we can do now, or
in terms of
let me go back to it. The income and asset criteria, what it is. I know you had referenced it earlier. Is there a place that we can go on the website to look at it?
On the website, it is www.education.scholarships.gov.ky. Under forms and guidance for overseas applications, there is a link that says means testing and guidance documents. That is where you would click on, and there is a full page of describing exactly what is needed and what's required and how do you do it.
All right. Final break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up. You share us some more.
No problem.
Please stay tuned for Talk Today. When we return, we'll talk more about the overseas scholarships application process with Dr. Shari Smith.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
At KFC, we believe you don't have to share a last name to be a family. Whether it's an office party, holiday fete, or family gathering, enjoy KFC's fresh, hand-breaded finger-licking good chicken. The KFC Festive Feast includes 10 pieces of original recipe or spicy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, tasty coleslaw, and warm biscuits. KFC's holiday catering menu includes buckets of hot wings, sweet chili wings, or chicken tenders. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. And I'm glad that Dr. Shari Smith has been so gracious with her time. And this is a process that I think many of us have gone through, and despite the pains as students or as parents who have gone through, would go through again. Hopefully it's a process that becomes, with each passing day, not just each passing semester, more, enjoyable, less painless, more efficient and effective. But, we'll get there, right?
Yep, you will.
a term came to mind. I thought it was called a Cayman Scholar. Might have been at some point. I just wanted to ask, no prompting and no preparation, so forgive me. There were these scholarships that the government used to have. Minister of Tourism had one, I think, and some other scholarships. I believe the term Cayman Scholar was there at one point. Two questions in one. Are they still available? And two, are they separate and distinct or the same as this thing here?
Okay. So currently there are 2 scholarships that would fall under the government umbrella. It's the educational scholarships that we've been talking about, and then the Ministry of Tourism has a scholarship for persons who are interested in going into the tourism field. Okay. If you apply for a Ministry of Tourism scholarship, then you're not eligible to apply for a government scholarship because it's, again, the same bucket. But again, then you would look at those private sector scholarships possibly if they could supplement and so forth. So that's really the only time that you can't have 2 scholarships in terms of you couldn't have a government education scholarship and the Ministry of Tourism scholarship.
And the Ministry of Tourism scholarship was a bit more, or is it the same? Or I won't put you on the spot.
I know.
Yeah. It changes, right?
Tanisha will probably be like, you should remember this.
Sorry, Tanisha, we don't remember that. I should too.
But I know her scholarship period is about to, I think it's opening up shortly. We try not to clash, so ours opens up first and then she opens up a little bit later. But I think it's the same 20, I want to think. Yeah. It's not less.
Well, yeah. It's, you know what, I can exercise all the resources, but therein lies the great challenge to educate our people.
Yes.
All right. So we have the means testing, we have the application process, we understand it, and council makes the decision based on the criteria. And a council is that a statute authority or some sort of, it's a body politically appointed. We know Mr. Scott is the competent, able chairman of the council, and they meet and they make the decision, and then students are informed and they're off to their merry way.
Yeah. Right. So and it's really about meeting that criteria. And there's, even if a student say applies this year and they don't they're not awarded the scholarship. For example, if they're coming out of high school and their GPA isn't high enough, or they haven't gotten enough exam scores, the option of actually whether they're going to UCCI or ICCI to bring up whatever it is that they need to bring up is a possible option, and then apply the following year when their GPA or their exam scores are higher is something. We've had some students who got accepted into university, but again, because their scores may have been low, and they opted to self-fund their first semester, and then we would look at saying, well, okay, when they self-funded their first year, their GPA then meets their criteria, and then the scholarship would kick in for the next 3 years that they have remaining, or so forth. So if for some reason you don't, you're not successful in this attempt, do not make that discourage you and say, well, okay, I give up and I'm not going to, even try again. There's always other options, but you have to try for them, obviously. So, it's an opportunity for many, many people. So please, please take it on.
And I would imagine, like anything, there's a limited amount of money in the bucket, as you call there. So a student going off to one particular. So many questions I would ask of, if you were high up on a food chain, but it was just questions for my own edification, but I'm sure more astute individuals likewise will probably ask the same questions. So just apply. See where it takes us.
Yeah, and you increase your chances. I mean, in Cayman, we know that Cayman is getting more and more competitive every single day. And, you listen on the news and the radio and everything, and you hear about work permits or, all that wonderful discussion and stuff like that. But, as I said to a young Caymanian a few weeks ago, if you do not educate yourself and provide yourself with the qualifications, then you really can't put yourself in a position to compete equally with whoever else is in that pool. And so, in order for us to ensure that, our young country continues to develop the way that it should, we continue to have the leaders that we need to have to take us into where we are, where we need to go in the future and represent us at all various levels, whether it's, in the classroom or in the banking or, at a legislative assembly level as premier. It all comes back to how do we prepare ourselves, and that comes through education. And we really need to continue to encourage our young people to do that because, the world is, expanding and growing and everything, but everything is also getting smaller. But, we want to make sure that we continue to be able to play on an international level as high as we have been over the many years.
Physically, the world may be round, but I think the world is flat.
Yeah.
It's a good book to read. and that's what we're looking at for us to be able to, we're not just competing with the guy across the street or in our class. It's not always a fair competition, but I guess with the policy. We're going to take a call as we go to the phones. Dr. Shari Smith is our guest. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
I am very thankful and highly blessed. And I say it again, Happy New Year. And Dr. Shari Smith, I know you quite well. from the Sunrise Center.
Yes, ma'am.
And you doing, okay, you ain't stopped learning yet, right?
No, I learn every day, but I think I've gone on hiatus now that I've completed this degree for a while.
Okay.
My children need to go off and study now.
Yeah. I have one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for a single parent, right? 'Cause I didn't catch all of the show with you. So I'm asking this question now. It's not for me, but I just asking this question.
No problem.
But I am a single parent.
So am I.
I know. And the question is, for a single parent, working still. I'm going to say working with government,
right?
And the child. I'm not going to say man, boy or girl,
right?
Would be needing some help for some extra funds,
right?
How did you go about that?
Well, if they met the government scholarship, then I think what they would be looking at getting their child to apply to those private sector scholarships. There are quite a few that are not specific to a specific career. So, and sometimes they are a lot more, flexible in terms of their criteria. They may not necessarily have, a full slew of people who are applying, and so they may have more funds available to help, persons who really meet the need. That's an option. Sometimes, families have to look at, in terms of financing, whether it's, the credit union or, you go to your personal bank and so forth. So, that's also a possible option. So it's, about looking at what your means are and then how do you navigate those things and then also getting the other resources that are available. So I would say that, just because you're a single parent, doesn't mean that you can't make this happen. A lot of universities as well that we're finding are actually providing scholarships as well to students.
As international students?
Yeah. So even, I've seen a couple of applications come through where students who are going to the U.S. And they have various scholarships within that actual university that they have met criteria for, and so that reduces the cost as well. If the child or student is into sports, there are universities that offer scholarships in terms of sports. So if they are here and they represent Cayman playing, football, basketball, they're swimming, whatever it is that they've been representing Cayman, and they go off to university, that is also a way that, they can get some funding as well. So, there's lots of options. So I would just say, apply. If you don't apply, then you won't know. And at least you get the first stage down, and then, you start to figure out the rest of the puzzle.
Okay. So another question. Thanks a lot for that.
No problem.
Thanks a lot for all that explanation. Very good one. But now, who should someone come to then? Come to you or who?
In terms of applying for a scholarship? Yeah, for the overseas scholarship, it's online on the Ministry of Education website.
Okay.
So they would need to go online, and the student would go to the actual site portal that the application is at, and they would create their profile, and then they would fill out the application online. So everything's online. You don't actually hand in anything. The only time that we will actually take like actual physical paper in the office is in regards to the financial stuff of the parent. Some parents don't feel comfortable giving their children their job letters with their salary amounts or the asset stuff. So they could actually, send those directly. And even that can be emailed in directly to the scholarships office.
Yes, ma'am. Especially for people that are down into the computers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a lot again.
You're welcome.
And as for you too, I'm going to say it to you again, very happy, prosperous, healthy year.
You too. Amen. Happy New Year to you too, Mom.
Amen, Mom. Happy New Year. Dr. Shari, thanks very much. And, many, many other questions, but I think you've been not only very exhaustive with the salient points.
No problem. Thank you.
The website is there for those who want to access it. Start the process now?
Yep. So they just need to go online and, start the process, get through those 5 stages. I'm looking forward to to tomorrow's Friday already.
Yeah.
So next week, seeing, the numbers and our stages move from stage 1 on up to stage, 4 and 5. And even the numbers that start at stage 1 increasing and go forward.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mom.
Thank you for having me.
And certainly appreciate it. And you guys over there at the Scholarship Secretariat, I know so much recognized as you share the students who are on scholarship.
Yep.
You have to process their things. There are those who are applying. So it's a lot of work that goes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
No problem. And I just want to say a special thank you to the ladies in the scholarship office. They're doing an awesome job. And I'm grateful that they've been so patient with me starting to learn all the other quirks and stuff.
Perfect stuff.
So, yeah.
All right. And to our listeners, come back tomorrow for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I don't know what the forecast is, but if it's in Cayman, hey, it's awesome. Until then, be blessed.